Nezuko Kamado's ability to resist human blood and eventually overcome her vulnerability to the sun became one of the most extraordinary developments in the Demon Slayer universe. Not only did she maintain her humanity, but Nezuko also fought alongside Tanjiro, helping him take out multiple demons including upper moons like Daki, Gyutaro, and Hantengu. In today's video, we'll take a look at how the Demon Slayer story would change if Nezuko participated in the one major battle she was left out of. What if Nezuko fought with Tanjiro in the Infinity Castle? This alternate timeline would create a completely different dynamic in the final arc, with devastating consequences that would test the bonds between siblings and force the Demon Slayers to make impossible choices. But first, let's take a look at why Nezuko did not join the Demon Slayers in Infinity Castle in the first place. You see, once she overcame her vulnerability to the sun, it wasn't only Tanjiro's heart that filled with hope. Somewhere, Kibutsuji Muzan began scheming as well, as Nezuko had finally unlocked the missing step in his mission, to achieve immortality. If Muzan somehow managed to capture Nezuko and consume her, he would be able to walk in broad daylight, effectively becoming immune to both the sun and Nichirin swords. This means that the Demon Slayers would no longer have a way to kill the Demon King, potentially ending in a devastating loss for all of humanity. Thus, after Tamayo injects Nezuko with a drug to return her back to her human form, she's put to sleep and watched over by Daki Sakonji until the final battle with the Demon King ends. Now, in this timeline, our point of divergence occurs during the Hashira training arc. While Tanjiro is recovering from his intense training sessions, Nakime uses her surveillance abilities to locate demons across Japan for Muzan's final assault. Despite the Ubuyashiki family's best efforts, Nakime's extended scouts discover Nezuko's hiding place, allowing her to mark the location for when the Infinity Castle arc begins. Nakime reports her findings to Muzan, who becomes fixated on capturing Nezuko alive. He accelerates his plan to attack, while also preparing contingencies for the event that he cannot successfully absorb Nezuko. When Muzan finally launches his assault and transports the Demon Slayers into the Infinity Castle, he gives Nakime specific instructions. Ensure that Nezuko Kamado is brought into the castle along with the others. She's too valuable to leave behind. As the Demon Slayers fall into Nakime's dimensional trap, Nezuko finds herself separated from Tanjiro and thrust into the shifting corridors of the Infinity Castle. For the first time since her transformation, she's completely alone in a realm filled with upper moon demons, with only Sakonji with her for support. Now, Muzan doesn't unleash any of the upper moons on Nezuko, since he absolutely cannot risk her being killed in battle. However, Sakonji and Nezuko are distracted by plenty of weaker demons. Given the suddenness of her move, Nezuko is still disoriented and struggles to fight. The former Hashira is able to hold off the threats, but he's nowhere near as strong as he used to be, and is gradually worn down by the attack. But the castle's demonic energy affects Nezuko differently than it does the human slayers. While the Hashira struggle with the oppressive atmosphere, Nezuko feels Muzan's blood calling to her, trying to assert dominance over her transformed body. Nezuko feels her bloodlust rising, and she must constantly fight against this influence while navigating the deadly maze. Luckily, Nezuko manages to make contact with a group of Tsuchinoto-ranked demon slayers, and with Sakonji's leadership, they're able to navigate through the maze. The group eventually reaches Gyutaro and Tanjiro, who's shocked to see his sister in the castle's depths. Now the Demon Slayers face an impossible situation. Not only must they fight against the upper moons, but they also have to protect Nezuko from being captured. This creates a devastating tactical disadvantage, because in every encounter, Tanjiro must divide his attention between offense and protection. Even some Demon Slayers, driven by years of training to kill demons on sight, try to engage Nezuko in battle. This internal conflict weakens their focus and coordination during battles, where every second counts. To make matters worse, Tanjiro and Gyutaro immediately run into the Upper Moon 3, Akaza. Now, believe it or not, Nezuko is actually perfectly safe in this battle, as Akaza doesn't attack women as a matter of principle, but Tanjiro and Gyutaro don't know that. With every blow, every exchange, Tanjiro is constantly watching his back to make sure that Nezuko's safe. He knows that he can't trust the other Demon Slayers to watch her because the skill gap between them and an Upper Moon is just too high. But by this point, Nezuko is fully awake and manages to unlock her powers. She breaks away from the other Demon Slayers and joins Gyutaro and Tanjiro in the fight against Akaza. For the reason we just covered, this is a devastating addition to the fight, and Akaza struggles to keep up with Nezuko's burning blood while simultaneously not counterattacking. Seeing an opening, Tanjiro and Gyutaro crash through, overwhelming Akaza and scoring a critical victory for the Demon Slayers, just like in the original timeline. But Akaza isn't the villain the Demon Slayers were worried about. Recognizing the chaos that Nezuko's presence creates among the core, Muzan begins to exploit this weakness ruthlessly. The Demon King uses his telepathic connection to assert his influence over Nezuko directly. As they run through the castle's shifting corridors, he orders her to attack and kill the humans, making Nezuko hesitate or stumble from the effort of resisting him. The outcomes of the remaining battles in the Infinity Castle won't really change, since Tanjiro didn't get involved in them in the first place. So the Demon Slayers still eliminate the remaining Upper Moons, and with Muzan finally taking care of Nakime himself, the Infinity Castle collapses. With the two sides battling it out in the open, it's time for the sunrise countdown. But there's a critical difference this time. Muzan's victory condition is not beating the Demon Slayers, but capturing and consuming Nezuko. As he rushes toward her, the swordsmen take on the role of protecting Nezuko from the Demon King, for their sake as well as hers. As the battle intensifies, the strain of protecting Nezuko begins to slow. Several Demon Slayers sacrifice themselves to shield the Hashira and Nezuko from Muzan's attacks, and end up being consumed by the Demon King. Each death weighs heavily on Tanjiro, who begins to question whether bringing his sister into this battle was a mistake, and whether she could have gone unnoticed in the Infinity Castle. Watching his comrades fall because of his sister's presence, Tanjiro enters a state of desperate fury. His guilt and anger fuel his sun-breathing to new heights, but also make him more reckless in combat. Obanai and Giyu are forced to take him aside mid-fight and make him calm down before Muzan strikes them yet again. More Demon Slayers, including strong Hashira like Yomei and Mitsuri, continue to fall, but the damage on Muzan begins to accumulate as well. In a desperate attempt to escape the sun, Muzan takes on a massive, grotesque, mutated form, but Tanjiro is still relentless and chases him down. In the original timeline, Muzan injected Tanjiro with his blood as a last resort in this position, but now he has a new target. Throughout the entire battle, Muzan was pressuring Nezuko and observing her ability to resist demonic corruption, and with his defeat imminent, he had the perfect vessel for his final gambit. Despite the Demon Slayer's desperate attempts to protect her, Muzan successfully injects Nezuko with a massive concentration of his blood, resulting in an immediate and horrifying transformation. You see, Nezuko is already immune to the sun, so if Muzan successfully overrides her human instincts and emotions, he would succeed in his mission to create the perfect demon. Nezuko's body begins to change rapidly, growing larger and more monstrous. Her gentle nature disappears as Muzan's consciousness begins to overpower hers. But there's one flaw with Muzan's plan. He didn't know that Nezuko was already under the effects of Tamayo's human transformation drug. As a result, Nezuko's constitution creates an unstable reaction with the Demon King's blood. Instead of a controlled transformation, her body becomes a battleground between her soul and Muzan's demonic essence. As dawn approaches, Tanjiro is faced with a difficult decision. Does he try to save his sister, or does he lead the charge against her? The Demon Slayers can't kill Nezuko in this state without his sun breathing, but there's some hope that he will be able to bring out her human side once more. The other Demon Slayers retreat, waiting for Tanjiro's decision. He can't afford to hesitate, because if the transformation goes too far, it's game over not only for the Demon Slayers, but all of humanity. It's heartbreaking for Tanjiro, because the sister he's fought so hard to protect has become the very monster he's sworn to destroy. Through the chaos of her transformation, Nezuko's consciousness breaks through, and she begs her brother to end her suffering before Muzan's influence takes complete control. Tanjiro's battle against the transformed Nezuko is the most brutal fight in the entire series. Every technique he uses against her feels like a betrayal of everything he stood for. Each wound he inflicts tears at his own soul. What remains of Nezuko's consciousness guides his blade, creating openings and weakening the demonic monstrosity's regeneration. Even corrupted by Muzan's blood, her love for her brother shines through. The final strike comes as the sun fully rises over the ruined castle. Tanjiro's blade, enhanced by his sun-breathing and fueled by desperate love, severs Nezuko's head cleanly. In her final seconds, Nezuko's original appearance returns. Her eyes clear, and she smiles at her brother with the same gentle expression she wore as a human child. So what do you think? Does Nezuko's presence in the Infinity Arc make the final battle more emotionally devastating? And would you have liked to see this ending in the manga instead? As always, make sure to comment your thoughts down below and stay tuned for more awesome Demon Slayer videos.